In this lesson, we're going to show you a little bit about the Revit structure analytical visibility or display thereof. We're not going to talk about the actual analysis part and how you might export that to Robot or one of the other analysis products. All I want to talk about here is the visibility of the analytical model, and just to give you some tips on that so you can at least manage it throughout your projects. Here I'm just in just a basic project that's provided with the training here in our Revit Structure 2014 A to Z. And at this point, I've just started with the default Revit structure template to do this originally. But what we're going to show you here is going to allow you to control and manage the analytical model display regardless, as once you know where everything is. So the first thing we're going to do here is go up to structure, and under our structure panel over here to the right there's a little arrow to go in for some settings, and inside of there we're going to go to analytical model settings, and we're just going to go down here and say analytical model visibility, differentiate ends of linear. So yes, we want to differentiate the ends of the analytical model, being start and end points and all that stuff. So that's it. We turn that on, we hit OK. So that's a global setting. That's not specific to the view. Okay. The next thing we want to do is go in the Manage tab, and over here under Object Styles, and yours might look different because my menu is being condensed. Click on there, and if you pull over here, the analytical objects have their own tab on there. And inside of here, you're going to see analytical beams, analytical braces, analytical columns, etc. So if you pick on here, depending on what template you started with, again, this is a global setting, you can see beams, end segment, start segment. So what we're going to do is we're going to form a little trend. We're going to say start and end is always red and green. So start segment is going to be the color red. We're going to hit OK. Okay, end segment we're going to pick on here, and we're going to say green, this green right here. Okay, then we're going to go to braces, and we're going to say start is red, end is green. We're going to go through the columns and do the same thing. And instead of start and end, we'll go top and bottom. Top is red, and bottom base is green. So red and greens, start and end, top and bottom, hit OK. So that's under our object styles. Again, global settings. Now we get into the view settings on how we want to set up this particular view. So what we can do, and we can do this now that those global settings are in, we can go to a 3D view or a floor plan or an elevation. First of all, we should be aware of here if we change to be coarse detail, okay, the concrete stuff doesn't change, but when you go to coarse detail of the view, it goes from just kind of to a single line. And that will depend on if you're in a floor plan or if you're in a 3D view and you change it to be coarse detail or etc. Okay. Let's go to level 3 and go to coarse detail. You see, it gives you a single line. So each view, and I'll go back to that 3D view, has the opportunity to set its coarse, medium, and fine. Still nothing to do with analytical so far. We can also set this, for instance, to be wireframe, and then we can kind of see through it. So we'll take advantage of that in a second. We'll leave this as hidden line for the time being. So now what we want to do is turn on the analytical aspects of the model. We can overlay them on top of the physical model, or we can turn off the physical model. And to do that, we go into visibility graphics. So we can type VV on the keyboard, or we can go up here and say visibility graphics. And inside of there again, we're going to see analytical model. This looks a lot like the object styles we saw earlier, but this is specific only to this view. So we can go right here. There's a global setting saying show analytical categories in this view. And then if you click on here, you're going to see end segment and start segment is turned on, rigid links. So we're going to see these. Okay, and the control of the colors was set back in the object style. So this is specific to this view, and watch what happens. Boom, we turn it on and it looks like that. Okay, now we can't see a whole lot, but we're going to notice red, green on the ends. Okay, now we can't see the columns because they're kind of buried inside there. Okay, so we can either switch this to go wireframe, which will help us kind of see through that. Okay, can see the analytical model. Or we can turn the physical model off in this view by going back into our visibility graphics, VV on the keyboard, and model categories, turn them all off. That's it. Boom. All we're going to see now is the analytical model. Now, here's an interesting thing. Because of the depth of that grade beam around the analytical model of this, if we say attach and we use the attach tool, okay, let's turn the, let's go back to VV and let's turn those objects back on. If I take this column and I say attach the top of the column to here, it'll stretch itself up. So if I turn off the physical model, this analytical model will do that. So that's one way of, thinking about the analytical model, by picking on this guy and saying attach the top to here, and it'll do that. Okay, you can also go in here and pick on here, and you can say, actually you have to tab to grab the analytical model, click on it, and then you get an option here to say analytical adjust, and then from there you can just grab that node and drag it up to there. Okay, and then finish, and then click out. So visually, it doesn't make any difference, and analytically they're both the same. The difference is this column is not attached to here, whereas this column is, and which means that if this beam moves, these columns will go up and down because that's what the attach tool does. This guy, if this beam goes up and down, the analytical model will move, but the top of the column will not because it's not attached to here. When it gets attached to the top or the bottom of something, when that object moves, it extends itself. It relinquishes its control. So just a note on that. So we can go back now into our VV and let's say OK. We can turn off our model categories and hit OK. And there we have our analytical model. So from there you can turn things on and off, and you can see that, a beam and a joist are really just framing objects. Okay, I did add some braces inside of here. Okay, so there's some braces in there, and you can see the start and end again, red and green, red and green. Okay, so you can do that same thing in a floor plan. Okay, let's try making a view template inside of here. Let's go up to our view tab and say view template, create template from current view, and let's just call it, analytical. And looks good to me. And so let's apply that to a floor plan. Let's go to, say, the level 2. And let's duplicate that because we want to duplicate the view. Let's duplicate with detailing. And then in this view, we're going to go to View Templates, and we'll apply a view template. And let's go grab our all analytical. Now, was there a structural analytical already? No, there isn't. So there's our analytical. Hit OK, and boom, there you go. So that kind of worked quite nice, even though it's going from a 3D view to a 2D view. So you can see the start and end of your. So that helps when you pick on this beam, and you see here. And that is the analytical model. So let's turn the physical model back on, and let's set wireframe so we can see through it. There we go. Was set to wireframe. So now what I can do is I can pick on the beam, and you can see in here where it says start and end, etc. Okay, start and end. Now you know where the start and end is because you can see the red and the green. And you can always, pick on the beam and play with these numbers, but the red and green kind of helps you distinguish whenever you pick on something, and you have the option of something to do with start and end, and that's pinned. is that it helps when you have your analytical model, because that at least gives you an indication of your start and end. So back to my 3D view, and there we have it. So just a couple of tips on controlling and managing the analytical model in Revit Structure 2014.